You drill a 2-inch hole with a hole saw in the wheel well, and you can stick your right in there and get it right back out. No trouble at all.
Yeah. We're gonna be roll calling. Here.
Briggs,
Here.
Nail, Sneed,
Yeah.
Walker, West.
Here.
Say the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone take a moment of silence and the light. The motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. In favor, say aye.
Aye.
I will oppose, same sign. Everyone's had a chance to review the previous minutes. If there are no additions or corrections, they'll be approved as presented. We have no visitors and there was no public comments in, so we want to officers report the CFO.
Okay. Okay, we can start on here. Mine's different. Three.
Yeah.
Okay, page 3. That's the primary payer mix, pretty much the same as it has been. We just update that every month. The next page is the payer policy mix. It shows the number of calls for each one. Page 8 is our operations report on billing. Shows you how many claims were billed, total charges, payments, actuals. And the next page, after all the different, so write-offs, that's just mostly collections. Revenue adjustments.
It's gonna be page 5 and 6.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yes,
You good. I got you.
and then you get down to the bottom and it shows the totals and summary. Average charge per claim in September was $1289.47. Average payment per claim was $544.57. Any questions on the end? Page 7 will be sales tax receipts. For October, we received $336,177.61. So that should be from August. Most of that's from August, so in the fair out. Any questions on that? Page 8 is the budget components year to date. Operating revenues up about 13% over year to date budget. And then you can see really the only one that I highlighted here was ambulance operations is over budget at year to date. Total operating expenses are under budget year to date, so doing pretty good there. Page 9 is the budget performance compared to the annual budget. So we should be about 75% where we should be. You can see there again, same thing. Service fees are at 91%. Total operating revenue is about 90%, so about 15% higher than what we budgeted. And then gives more detail. So medical supplies and oxygen are what causes our year to date to be over budget on the ambulance operations. Anything in capital purchase expenses, EMF equipment, and we'll need to do a budget amendment for that. Page 11, we're at 78.59% on total payroll expenses. So pretty close. Sorry.
You good?
Should have printed new. Uniforms, we're at 82% of budget. Advertising promotion. Of course, with advertising for the shipping manager. Page 12. Paramedic training was more than we had originally budgeted. Page 14 shows our or 13, sorry, capital expenses.
Paramedic training.
Yeah.
Did we train more paramedics or did it cost us more to train the same number?
So we sent 2 to paramedic school, it just cost more than what it did when we budgeted 5. Page 14 is our capital expense, year to date,
13.
yeah, again, 13. So we've pretty much done everything that we set out to do. The only things that we're not gonna have done is the ambulance. Everything else we should pretty well have.
Are those forward-looking numbers locked in or are they still flexible?
So the ones that we ordered and signed
Those are
for,
locked in.
those are locked in.
And no surprises.
So I think we'll get to it, but I think there's a few that we were given an estimated cost. And actual orders. We'll have to check that. Page 14 is our balance sheet previous year comparison. Comparing assets year over year. It's like, the change in fund balance, you can see there has put up 360,000. Same thing, profit and loss previous year comparison, and expenses year over year. You can see the increase there in total revenue as well as service fees. So that's from our billing is 676,000 more than last year for the same time period. Expenses are also up 606. Any questions on that? Page 16 through 20 is our profit and loss by class. So that's where we split out Pettis and Windsor. Page 20, the bottom line and where we're at year to date. So right now Windsor is to the good 176,000. Page 22 is our capital reserve chart showing our rent balances as of this board meeting versus last month, and then year over year. 156,000, and then year over year it's about 1.1 million. Page 23 is our 22 cash reserve analysis. That is up about 5 days cash reserve from last meeting. And then, yeah, the 2 additional new units approved on 7/25. I think we just had an estimate of 660,330 a piece. Those ones I don't know if we have actual locked in price yet, do we?
The 2 that you ready to do.
No, no. Those 2 are right here. Those are locked in.
Yeah, those locked.
Yeah, it's 2 in the future. We kind of just told them.
I thought we'd already ordered those.
We basically put our name in the hat, but I don't think there's a.
Those were the ambulance lights, right?
Yeah, no, those are locked in. Those
Those
are
are
locked
locked in.
in, getting.
Oh, yeah, those 2 are locked in.
Very good. That's the type 2 Ford.
That's the type 2 portrait.
So this would be looking at forward at maybe buying 2 more complete new ambulances and.
Yeah. Pages 23. Through 28 with the check register for the last month. Do you have any questions on it? Okay, page 29 is the current bill. And then the details are on page 29.
So unit 2 make and model, I'm just curious, what would that be? Referred to,
Could be an E450.
E450,
Yes. Yeah. And it's got the V873.
or
V8, 7.3 liters.
7.3.
Yeah, and it is a 22.
That is a 22, okay, I wanna just do a little bit more research on. What road changes on that. Just imagine that.
Any other questions on the bills?
Are there any other questions for gentlemen? If not, I'll take a motion to receive the CFO. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Take a motion to approve payment of outstanding bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Move on to unfinished business, 8.3 architect recommendation. Whatever you want.
Hi there. Okay. Are you ready for me to present our recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. Sorry about that. I couldn't quite hear if you were on this item or not yet. So, coming to you tonight to recommend a contract with an architect for your base station number 3. When we came on board in August for you, our first step that we proposed was to solicit an architect. We learned that you had already started that process last year. You put out a request for qualifications and you received 3 responses, one from Rawlings Architects, one from HD Architecture, and one from KRJ. But that the district had not selected one of those architects yet. So we picked up at that point and we scheduled some interviews and presentations with each of those firms. They were given the chance to present to us and we asked questions to determine who was qualified for this project, and if qualified, then to rank them in an order. This is part of the process kind of laid out by the state for professional services such as architects and geotechnical engineers, which I'll get to a little bit later. So after the interviews, the district's team determined that all 3 firms were qualified. They then proceeded to rank them in order of most qualified. They were all very, very close. So the first ranked was KRJ Architecture, the second ranked was Rawlings, and the third ranked was HD. So the next step then, we asked all 3 firms, please review a copy of the contract that you would be signing if you were selected for this project. KRJ came back to us with a lot of comments on the contract. We reviewed their comments with your attorney, and a lot of them were negotiable given the size of the project, but there were some that were just showstoppers that your attorney could not recommend going into a contract with this firm with the changes that they were proposing. And likewise, that firm couldn't move forward without those changes. So we had to move on from KRJ. Rawlings respectfully declined. They thought it was in possibly everyone's best interest. Then we went to HD Architecture. They had very little comments on the contract. They were happy to sign it pretty much as is. So we then proceeded to ask them for a fee proposal. They proposed a fee of $128,800, which is a little bit above what we had budgeted. We had budgeted $104,000. So we were able to negotiate with them down to $106,000, which is much closer to our budget. And then in addition to that, typically an architect's contract will have an allowance for reimbursables. If they print drawings, they would charge you to that. If they have to pay a plan review fee, they would pay it out of that and then only charge you for those items if they really do have those expenses. If you don't use any of that reimbursable allowance, they never bill you for it. For a contract this size, I would recommend an allowance of about $3,000 for reimbursables. So altogether, I recommend that the district enter into a contract with HD Architecture for $109,000.
Well, that would actually be an up to $109,000, right?
Correct. Yes.
Thank
The
you.
base would be 106. 106 is a given, and then that other three would be only as billed.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
There any other questions on the recommendation?
Well, we have a choice of one.
Yeah. So I'll take a motion to approve that recommendation. So, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll get a contract in their hands this week. We always ask them to sign first and then make sure they haven't redlined anything. And then we would ask the district to sign it. And then once that's signed, they can be off and running on design.
How does this affect the original timeline that we were looking at?
We're still on target. The target had always been to have an architect on board at the end of October.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Where are they out of? HD.
They're in Kansas City.
There. Good. Any other questions? Thank you. Move on to new business, capital expense transfers.
That is on page 32 of your packet. We kind of talked about this last time, moving the money kind of where it's really set aside for. So what you can see there is we're just moving the difference to get to our projected budget of $2 million on Station 3, and then the amount for the ambulances we have on order is the ambulance vehicle replacement. And then the equipment replacement fund, that's just the additional equipment we have in the budget for this year. So we're basically moving 3.9 million from the general checking to the various funds to kind of show everybody where that money is sitting, why we have that cash there.
Unless anybody else has any questions, comments, it makes sense to me. That's how in the past I've seen things done. It might, it makes sense. So continue where it doesn't look like we're just sitting on this big stack of cash. And give you kind of a new
Eric, this drawing that we have that shows the ever increasing balance of that. Everybody looked at that. Especially people like Steve Eckert. What are they doing with all that money?
And that's
Well, this chart right here,
and then
Yeah.
we have
that needs to be changed to reflect what we truly have.
yeah, and that's why we're doing this. I'm proposing that we do this, and people can see, you know, we really have 3.6 million of operating funds,
Yes, that's.
and that's a little less than
Looks like
6.
we're sitting on over $7 million here, quoting in on 8. Every year, why don't you roll the levy?
and that's
Real quick.
and then that's when you get $1,200 spark cost. I haven't believed
Got your
that.
money over at Woodward Court, servicing you. No, that chart right there has caused a lot of eyebrows to be raised.
And I understand if folks were looking at it without maybe all the details, we don't watch the reruns of us, which I can sit down at night and do on a constant basis.
Put you to sleep.
So you need a motion to approve the transfer of funds. Is there a second? Second. For discussion?
Who was the second?
If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Request for qualifications for geotechnical services.
But like,
Okay.
you want to talk about that too?
Yeah, I can. So in addition to getting an architect on board, one of the next steps is also to hire a geotechnical engineer. They would come in and do soil borings. They drill borings into the ground to determine what the subsurface conditions are. That is information that the architect then needs in order to design the footings and the building structure and know if we're going to hit rock, do they need to change the elevation of the building and so forth. And that, similar to the architect, is considered a professional service. So you select those by a request for qualifications process. So we'd like to advertise the request for qualifications, receive those qualifications, evaluate them similar to the way we did the architects, and then start with the top ranked firm and ask for a proposal. This scope is much, much less smaller than an architect. It'd be under $20,000, it should be. And their extent of services, they come in, they're usually on site maybe 2 days to drill those holes, take the soil samples, fill the holes back in, take the soil samples back to the lab to evaluate, and then they need about a month to run their tests on soil and produce a formal report. And then once that is complete, that scope is pretty much done. Often we like to use or recommend that same firm to then do the materials testing scope during construction. And that would be the agency who comes out and takes concrete tests and checks that the contractor is compacting the soil correctly. They would inspect any steel welding. But right now, this is requesting qualifications for firms that can do both. But initially, we would only be looking to contract them for the geotechnical scope. So we're looking for approval to advertise that request for qualifications.
So you don't have just a list of people you've used in the past that you believe in?
Oh, we do, and we could do that if you felt like it met your procurement requirements and your state requirements.
You would know better than that if they meet those requirements. What's it gonna cost us to shop around for a list that we're probably gonna use the same people anyway?
Oh, that would cost you nothing to look for a list. We could put a list together easily and go to those firms and ask for proposals directly.
So how much would cost savings and time savings would we realize doing the
To do that?
shortcut?
You would save the cost of advertising, which Jamie can speak to. It's a few $100s. And then time-wise, you might save about a month.
Can we do that?
That's my question.
Okay, look.
You guys have always bid everything out, RFQ. I think it's probably a good idea to
So
stick with
this
that
doesn't
process.
fall on something that we've already more or less delegated to our buyer's rep, then something we
You know,
have.
so
to do.
there'll be many more of these that go out. So, I mean, I guess for the most part, Colette, there's a big one for the general contractor. Yeah, for the
Yeah, general contractor, and that will be different. That will be a request, that'll be an actual hard bid. You wouldn't have to receive qualifications, evaluate them, and then go back out. That's just a all-out request for a bid because it's not a professional service.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, if we do this for the geotech stuff and the materials testing, that saves having to do it again separately for the materials
Correct.
testing.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
at least we should consolidate that much, I would think.
Yeah.
and it's in here, they're both.
Yeah. Okay, I'm understanding more as I go.
And we're happy to take either route. We just don't want to get you in any hot water of not following procurement procedures that you're required to follow.
We don't need any more hot water.
That's what we're here for, is to keep you out of it. That is always my goal.
Motion to approve that RFQ.
Keep the ball rolling, so moved.
Jim already did, but you can second.
Oh, I'll second then.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
And while we're talking about these, we just wanted to talk about if you guys wanted to see all of these before they go out, or if you're okay with us putting these out and providing you guys copies. That could save some time because we're not waiting for board meetings to put these out each time.
And you're just talking about the RFQ, the
RFQ.
request, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you guys would still see
right.
whatever comes back,
Right.
but putting them out. You guys are good with going ahead and putting those out, just providing you
Yeah,
guys
makes
copies.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything we can do to save time, because you never know what the weather's gonna do to us later.
Okay,
Or
So-
strike, or who knows what.
yeah, so going forward, then we can kind of.
Okay, yeah, great.
Rolling a little bit on.
I'll let Scott know that. Okay,
All right, thanks, Colette.
okay. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
Bye.
PCAD board meeting, the second Monday in December will be Christmas Eve. So.
I'm not doing anything.
I'll be here with you.
You guys have a great time.
Like in the past, we just skipped that meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cancel that.
Yeah, if there's any kind of emergency.
Make something happen, yeah.
So you just want to cancel that?
So that means any end of your business will have to be done second,
Yes.
the first meeting, which will be the second week in December.
Yeah, I think it's the 10th. Yeah, the 10th.
Have a motion to cancel. So. Sorry. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Or HIPAA training. First meeting in November, and then wonder if you want to do it before the meeting or after the meeting, or should be pretty. Great. 15, 20 minutes.
Let's do it before and early.
Either way, it's gonna be.
Did it 5:30? Then the regular board meeting will start at 6. Take a motion to go into closed session pursuant of RSMO 610.021, sections 1.
So,
Turkey,
Yes.
Graves,
yes.
sorry, Sneed,
Yes.